Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Living Astrology with Janet. It's time to grab your cup of coffee or your tea, sit back and relax. Although I'm not sure how relaxation fits into this theme today because this week is a doozy. So let's chat about all the things that are happening for this week ahead, including human design and astrology. I mean, literally, this week leaves you almost breathless, especially if you're the astrologer trying to figure out how it is that you're going to bring all this to people without stressing them out too much. So, welcome everybody. It's good to see you. I hope everyone, at least here for the USA, folks, had a wonderful Thanksgiving. It's so nice to have 4 days in a row, even though, Thanksgiving Day itself is busy. The day after Thanksgiving is often busy for people. Family is still in town, perhaps, and as it was in our case. And then there was Saturday and Sunday, the blessed days of doing nothing that you had to do, at least for me. And I enjoy those kinds of things. So 4 days in a row, it seemed like we had some fun times. And while I wasn't with you on Friday, I was with you in spirit, wishing you all a happy Thanksgiving. And today, yeah, sure, I was lazy. Do you know what I did yesterday, Tom? Since you think I'm lazy, I spent 3 hours, maybe more, on your core wounds that I'm going to be presenting to you on Friday. So I got it done early because I am testing out for everybody who's just tuning in. I'm testing out a new type of session. It really embraces this idea of using astrology as a counseling tool, if you will, even though it's not purely counseling. But it's about taking your core wounds, finding your core wounds, and seeing how it moves through the entire chart, which of course impacts your entire life. And it is interesting because I decided, Tom, at the last minute yesterday to do this as a test and combining it with galactic astrology, meaning I was looking at where lifetimes in other star systems might also be playing into your core wounds. So thank you for being my guinea pig for this. Later in the day, I did it for my two daughters. So even though it was a lazy day, as in I didn't have to go anywhere or do anything in particular, I was doing work. So there you have it. And I will be offering those sessions to people here um, as soon as I can decide how to price it because it was an awful lot of work. But it's so valuable too. And I'm wondering if it shouldn't be more of a multi session kind of thing that we do together because it can almost be overwhelming in the amount of information. So keep your eyes peeled for that. So I was busy, Tom. Today, so we have, like I said in the very beginning, we have so much to talk about. And a lot of these things we talked about on Wednesday with Tam when we were taking a look at the December overview, because it seemed like the December energy came in like a wrecking ball, just boom, it's here. And then it calms down a titch until mid-month. And at mid-month, we have this very powerful shift in the energies of December, not for the negative or even for the positive, just a shift in the energy. But right now, it can feel pretty intense. And that's because there's so many different things that are happening, kind of piling up on us. You may or may not notice anything other than a raised temperature, perhaps, or an increase in anxiety. So let's break it down so maybe we can put together with some ideas about what it is that's going on. First of all, hopefully, everybody had a great new moon and set some very powerful intentions for expansion. The new moon was in Sagittarius. That occurred on the 30th for those of us on the west coast of the USA, and on very early morning of December 1st for those of you further east. So you're still in the powerful window of the new moon, which means that setting intentions, if you hadn't set them on that new moon moment, you can still set them. Usually the first 48 hours after the new moon are the most intense and powerful. And oh, by the way, have you seen Mars up in the sky over? We had actually a clear sky last night. And as I'm laying in bed, I keep seeing this red thing out in the sky, and I thought it was an airplane or a helicopter, and Terry's like, "No, no, it's a planet." And I went, "Yeah, it's Mars." Mars, bright, 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 always at his brightest from our Earth perspective as he gets ready to retrograde, which is happening this week. So if you get a chance to look up in the night sky and watch for Mars right after, let's see, we go to bed about 10 o'clock and he was in the northeast sky. So check the sky if you can and see what's going on there. Now, today we are post new moon, and later on this afternoon, the moon makes her move into the sign of Capricornia. So, I want to share that movement of the moon in the context of our reimagined sign of Capricornia. And I'm actually going to share my screen and let's see if I could do it again. Entire screen. There we go. Boom, you guys should be seeing our lovely picture of Capricornia now. So she is now has been always really a feminine archetype. So in this lens of looking at the sign through its right context, which is the divine feminine qualities of leadership, of nurturing through structure, and the wisdom of cycles, we get this new picture of what's possible in a sign that has been sort of treated for millennia as a very masculine sign, right? With Saturn as the ruler of the sign, Saturn always depicted as a masculine character. And here, it's no longer a sign that's strictly defined by the patriarchal traits of discipline and authority. Capricornia triggers our need to integrate and balance sensitivity and perseverance and intuitive guidance, right? All very feminine qualities of the sign. So when the moon transits Capricornia, it's a call for us to include in our world a deep emotional alignment with grounded wisdom and purposeful action, right? So we're blending together the energy of doing, but doing so in a very feminine way. So here's how this can manifest in our lives over the next few days. And remember, this is happening later this afternoon, 1:10 p.m., I believe it is West Coast time. So 4:10 p.m. for those of you on the East Coast. So the first thing that we might manifest is emotional strength, and that emotional strength coming to us via structure. So we may feel a real intuitive need to create some form of system or routine that nurtures us in a way that we don't have at this moment. And that's actually backed up by the placement of the sun starting tomorrow, the 3rd of December, and human design in the gate 5, the gate of routines and rhythms and cycles. So we have some real coherence here that I really love. Now, Capricornian's energy inspires us to approach emotional matters with a sense of maturity, right? Instead of knee jerking in response to things, actually being a little more response able and include in your emotional musings a long-term vision, and not from rigid structure and form and as this is how it has to be, but more through a deep understanding of the cycles of growth and where are you in that cycle of growth. It is about balancing ambition with care. So not just strictly, I want to get ahead and I got to do and I got to do and I got to climb that corporate ladder, but ambition that's fueled by caring, especially for family. On the opposite side of Capricorn is Cancer, the family and community. And for future generations, there is a sense of time here with Capricornia. And this is the time to take practical steps toward goals that align with your emotional and spiritual well being. Just remember that we have Mercury in retrograde. So taking leaps and starting new things has to be tempered with caution and with a little more circumspect idea of how that's going to take place, right? We got to be a little more slow in how we bring things out. It is a time for us to reclaim our intuitive leadership. Capricornia recognizes that leadership isn't about domination. but about guiding with wisdom and guiding with intuition and compassion. So it's a different form of leadership that we see in a reimagined Capricorn. And during this transit, you might feel called to take charge in ways that empower others rather than controlling them, which has been the predominant um, masculine focus of Capricorn energy. It is a time for us to respect cycles and natural rhythms, the natural rhythms that are in nature of rest and regeneration, right? The timing that it takes for us to be in that right motion of energy. So pushing outward, doing versus time to rest and relax and sit back, and then the time to regenerate, right? Rebuild and refocus our energies. It's about being in the emotional ebb and flow and embracing rest as much as effort, right? The doing as much as the resting. And Capricornia also has a connection to our ancestral wisdom. It's a very interesting place because Capricornia is kind of the keeper of traditions and ancestral knowledge. And it reminds us that we are part of a lineage and that we can draw strength from the past while remaining adaptable to change, right? We don't have to let go of everything in order to move forward. The moon here fosters a sense of emotional connection to that lineage and to your heritage and the wisdom that we pass down through generations, right? To our children and our grandchildren, and so on and so forth. So, here are some practical ways to honor the moon's transit through Capricornia in a reimagined sort of way. And that is about creating sacred space for reflection. Find your space, create an altar, or create a safe zone. Set aside time for journaling or for reflecting or for doing rituals that bring structure to self care routines in your life. Nurture through practicality. Engage in grounding activities like organizing your living space. Earth signs, right? They like to do that. Planning for the week ahead, cooking nourishing meals. These practical actions sort of align with Capricornia's caring, empathy, and structure. So reconnect with nature and cycles, right? Go outside if possible, connect with the time of the year that we are in as we are approaching the end of fall and the beginning of winter. Our minds turn inward, right? Can be a very introspective time. Light a candle or say a prayer for your lost relatives, your ancestors, thanking them for their contribution, their wisdoms, their resilience in times of trouble. Reflect on how their strength can guide you in these times. And also focus on legacy. There is a bit of energy here that really looks at the spiritual legacy that you're building, the emotional legacy that you're building, and what values and practices are you cultivating that will sort of ripple through your family or through your community. So the moon here, reimagined in Capricornia, invites us to ground our emotions in wisdom, structure, and purpose, right? We're not letting go of that structure and purpose part here. We're just doing it with wisdom and with intuition. And we're also nurturing ourselves in the process and nurturing others with care and compassion in a balanced sort of way. And it's a time to honor the cycles of growth. It's time to honor the cycles of rest, creating balance between ambition and emotional fulfillment, stepping into our intuitive leadership. And by embodying Capricornia's reimagined feminine energy, we create a legacy of resilience and emotional strength, and it's rooted in wisdom and care. So, a very cool thing to start looking at these types of transits as these movements of planets through the feminine signs and seeing how we can reform, reimagine, create these energies. Let me take just a minute here to say hello to everybody. I saw Terry first off this morning. Of course, he's in the other room. Diana S., good morning to you. TD Hawk, good morning from the Catskills, she says. I can't believe how this year flew by. I can't either. It's just been incredible. Christine Buckingham, good morning to you. Teddy and Patty, good morning. Tom, of course, we already said hello to. Joe Durchy, hello. And Tom says, "Guinea pig, wait, what? Thanks very much." Well, no, thank you, Tom. It's always nice to have a guinea pig. And good morning to Narges. I'm happy to see you out there. Asa, hello. And Debbie Tibbetts Tumiel, good morning. It is nice to see everybody. Now, I'm going to leave Capricornia up on the screen for a moment because today we also have Venus transiting through the sign of Capricornia in a trine aspect to Uranus. And a trine aspect is a 120-degree angle between the planets, and it is sort of a place of ease and grace. And it is Uranus that's in Taurana, another reimagined feminine sign, and we get an opportunity we get an opportunity to see how these two planets can really empower the divine feminine. Now, Uranus is a masculine planet, and then so we're putting a masculine planet in a feminine sign, and that has been the case, right? Uranus has been in Taurus since 2018, I believe, so it's been a while. So the opportunities for the unexpected are high today. There can be exciting and yet unexpected shifts in our relationships, in our finances, all Venus ruled things, our creativity, right? And it's a harmonious aspect. So it can blend Venus's practical, structured energy, her intuitive wisdom from Capricornia, into and structure it with Uranus's innovation and uniqueness, eccentricity, right? So we can, be spontaneous, but in a more wise and structured way. And that may seem at first like they are at odds with one another. It is kind of funny to say spontaneous and structured, right? Because spontaneous kind of is opposite of that. But it encourages us really to embrace a new way of connecting with one another, in expressing love, in creating or approaching our finances and our values, how we value ourselves and how we value others. So in relationships, sparks could fly, right? Sparks of inspiration or excitement in your relationships, kind of giving us a fresh perspective in how it is that we connect, encouraging freedom and authenticity in our partnerships. When we look at it through finances, these are Venus things. Be open to sudden opportunities or insights that could enhance financial stability or align with long term goals. Now we can blend, right, this idea of financial prosperity with a more of a goal or a plan with Venus in Capricornia. Creativity. Today may be a day when innovative ideas flow easily, making this a great time for stabilizing or creating a foundation for something new, for an unconventional project, perhaps, or a solution, an innovative solution to an old problem, something that you've been struggling with. So it could be a transit of surprises, breakthroughs that may feel both liberating a la Uranus and stabilizing as of Venus in Capricornia. So, a very interesting transit indeed. So, that's today, right? Today. Wednesday, so tomorrow's kind of calm, right? Not much going on tomorrow. So, take a deep breath tomorrow. Do a lot of grounding meditation tomorrow, getting ready for the rest of the week, which seems breathless by comparison to today and tomorrow. On Wednesday, we have this handful of aspects that are playing out. And one of them is, of course, Mercury retrograde in Sagittarius opposing Jupiter in Gemini. You knew that was going to happen with Mercury in Sagittarius, right? So, this transit is going to bring about a sort of tension between the big picture thinking of Sagittarian energy and the attention to detail that is required with Jupiter in Gemini. Remember, Gemini energy has a lot of focus on a lot of different things. Sagittarius has the bigger picture, but sometimes misses the details. So, our challenge is to not miss the details, right? But some of the challenges could look like miscommunications because Mercury's in retrograde, maybe over promising what it is that we can do, or missing crucial details in a conversation that you're having with someone or in the plans that are being made, right? So it's a time for checking and rechecking, and then maybe rechecking once more to make sure that you've caught all the information. But there are opportunities here in Mercury retrograde opposing Jupiter in Saturn, or Jupiter in Gemini. And it gives us an opportunity to reflect on how our beliefs, Sagittarius, and our communication style, Gemini, are working together. Maybe use this time to, reassess what your beliefs are about your plans for the future. Use it to revise projects, maybe, reimagining the things that you've been doing, revisit past ideas, right? Something that you thought of earlier in the year. Maybe you're, being naturally drawn backwards to view that project with new eyes. Then we also have the sun in Sagittarius in a square to Saturn in Pisces, right? So the sun being dampened somewhat by Saturn, or being brought into focus more by Saturn. So that particular aspect on Wednesday highlights a conflict between expansive vision and realistic limitations, right? So that expansive vision of the sun in Sagittarius, needing to find more structure, more form, a container, so to speak, of limitations of realism, a dose of realism. That would be how I would look at it. So the challenge of the day Wednesday with this transit might be about feeling restricted in pursuing your goals, or encountering obstacles in pursuing your goals that test your patience, test your resilience, right? Your ability to stick with something. And I can stop sharing my screen now. There we go. Um, and then focus on discipline. With this particular energy, you have to come down to the ground, right? Focus on long term planning. Use any setbacks as opportunities to clarify your vision or to solidify your approach. The next step I'm going to take is this, even if what you thought you were going to do turns out to not be the case, right? Don't let it stop you, just let it help you to clarify what the next steps are going to be. And the third um, aspect on Wednesday is Venus in Capricornia. I guess I could have left Capricornia up for a minute. Um, Sextile Neptune in Pisces. And now a sextile is a 60-degree relationship between the planets, and it's an harmonizing energy. And it's a harmonious aspect then that blends love and values and all of that with a dreamy sort of spiritual connection that Neptune and Pisces brings to us. So the benefits here are about creativity and romance and compassion flowing effortlessly in our lives that day, maybe kind of smoothing out the wrinkles that the other two transits could bring us. It's great for nurturing our relationships or diving into artistic or creative projects, or pursuing your spiritual, um, uh, maybe rituals or things that you want to learn more about in your spirit. The opportunities here are to build foundations that are kind of practical. You have to have the foundation before you can start the build the dream house, right? If you don't pour the foundation, there's nothing to support the dream. So build a practical foundation for your dreams, especially in love, in creativity, and in financial matters, Venus ruled type areas. So Wednesday really offers a mix of introspective energies and inspiration. So use patience to navigate communications, problems that perhaps show up while embracing your creativity and emotional depth in your relationships. That would be the best use of the energies for Wednesday. But Wednesday is big for another reason. So, let me pause for a second. Other people are checking in here this morning. Good morning, JLo. We haven't seen you in a few days. It's good to have you with us. Gayla, she says, hello, galactic souls. Great times. I love that attitude. I checked the sidereal signs and found it quite interesting indeed. Thank you. You're very welcome. And I also had a moment of sidereal bliss this weekend as I was thinking about, well, one of my friends out here, Debbie, she often sends me um, videos from this one astrologer, and I don't often get to sit and listen to the whole thing. But she's a Vedic astrologer, so she's obviously using the sidereal system. And as I was listening to her most recent video, Debbie, the one that you sent me, um, I realized that there's some real wisdom in that system and an explanation, perhaps, of some things that are happening that tropical doesn't see, right? And as I was thinking about how is it that we can blend the best of both of these, because of course I like to do that. I'm a blender. And I have not figured that part out yet. But Gayla, I'm glad you're exploring that because it is pretty darn interesting, right? When you look at the things that are happening in the world at this moment, right? And um, the political, the geographical, the climatological, and even just even minor things, the innovations and technology and so forth. When you look at that through the eyes of sidereal astrology, some questions get answered that tropical hasn't quite answered. And yeah, it does. It feels like that, Gayla. It feels like it fits the missing pieces. And that to me is worthy of our exploration. I just have so many things I'm exploring right now that I don't know how to fit that in. And yet, I mean, the tropical system works. But I really feel like, and here, this is just me, right? This is just me. I feel like if we want to grow and evolve, that we need to move our focus on astrology forward, which means we need to catch it up to where the actual constellations are at this moment. It doesn't necessarily change the way that we see each of the signs. It's just about the when of the signs. And I'll tell you what, this actually came pretty clear to me just a few days ago as I was reading an article about the USA Pluto return, which tropical astrologers thought began in 2022 and that the last of those transits occurred late 2023, or was it early 2024? But if you look at it through the sidereal system, we are not even expected to have the last pass of that Pluto return until December 13th this month. And doesn't that kind of explain the sort of things that are going on here in the USA, this transformation of power structures, because in this case, we're still looking at the that Pluto is in Capricorn, right? Transforming these systems. To me, I felt like, "Oh, man, I really have to take a look at this in a little bit deeper way." So, expect that we'll be talking about it more, but I hesitate to confuse people. And, astrology is a big thing anyway, right? A big system. And then if I switch midstream to a different system, I don't wanna confuse you, but I feel like we almost have to, right? If we want to evolve, if we want to explore the truth of who we are in this moment, we just might need to look at that other system. Maybe we could do a comparison for a while, but there's a lot of shifts going on in my own thinking about astrology and my own thoughts about what is the truth there in that system. So we'll see. All right, you guys have to let me know what you want. Um, we might just have to I just have to go with what it is that you are all ready for. Or maybe you're all just ready for whatever it is that I stumble across and like me going into all these, different territories. Catherine Wister, good morning. She says hello from the Adirondacks. Gayla says it feels like it fits the missing pieces. And that, I think I read that already, but yes, it's exactly how I feel too, Gayla. And, in some respects, we can do the same thing in our human design. So here's where the systems can come into alignment with one another. On Genetic Matrix, which is a site that I'll use for human design charts that are out of the normal range of charts. And one of the choices is to move the human design into a 13 sign sidereal or just true sidereal. And in doing that, you see different sets of gates that your sun and earth are in, but all of the gates are pretty much in different places. And when I looked at this in my own chart, I saw a potential truth in it because the sun and earth move from the more cautious gate 12 and 11 in my chart to the more needing to be patient and active with the 2034, the manifesting generator channel. And I've often felt more like a manifesting generator than a generator. So it can have some real impacts on who you think you are to look at these other systems and sort of bringing them up to date, if you will. But again, can be very confusing. So at this moment, I am not changing the system, but I love having these kinds of discussions around these systems. So Wednesday, another big day because of the nodal shift. So the nodes, the north node and the south node, they represent our collective destiny. If we're looking at it, from the more general or mundane sphere of things. And for you personally, you have your own set of nodes that represent your destiny and your karma, right? And what I'm going to be talking about now is the more collective change that's going on with those two pieces of the puzzle. Now, they're still in Aries and they will be until in January when they start to move into the next sign. And this shift is from December 4th to January 30th. And the nodal shift takes the north node into the gate 25, which is called the gate of spirit, and puts the south node in the gate 46, which is called the gate of embodiment. So a very physical, in traditional human design, it was called the gate 25 was the gate of the love of spirit, and 46 was the gate of the love of the physical body or the body. And so there is a profound transformation that is potentially positive for all of us as a collective. And let's take a look at how this is going to impact our collective soul, right? We're part of, you have your own soul, right? Your own evolution of your soul, but we're also part of a collective that is also embodied with the soul, if you will, and is also evolving. So the north node in the gate 25, the gate of spirit, emphasizes universal love and purity and connection to the divine. And it guides us to align our higher with our higher principles. Walk the moral high ground, if you will, reminding us of the sacredness within and around us. So the 25 is a very powerful spiritual gate for us to be moving through. Collectively, we'll be drawn to explore what it means to act from a place of unconditional love, releasing ego driven motives and embracing more of that idea of compassion and unity. I don't know how this will happen. I really don't. But of course, it's a part of what's happening. It'll highlight for us themes of healing and forgiveness and surrendering to the flow of life's spiritual lessons. And of course, we're all learning these together. Now, the South Node in the 46th, or the gate of embodiment, speaks to how we can become fully present in the physical experience, embodied in, the physical. So your spirit in the physical, right? And in that space, we can celebrate the joy and wonder of life through our bodies, through all of our senses, right? The South Node encourages us really to release outdated beliefs and patterns that disconnect us from the physical plane. And it helps us then to ground in spiritual insights into the practical, embodied way of living. So the 46 says, yes, you are an embodied divine being walking on a very physical plane in a very physical dimension. And it challenges us then to integrate the spiritual with the material and fostering a balance then between our aspirations and our lived experiences. So the two gates, really very awesome um, gates to have in your collective right now. Now, the key lessons will be about balancing spirit and the body, right? Spirit and physical. The axis between these two gates, and they're both sitting on the identity center of the human design. So it's very soul connected. That's what the identity center is. And it urges us to harmonize spiritual ideals with physical realities. And it teaches us that true wisdom arises from embodying our divine nature in everyday life, not just on Sunday when you go to church or on the days that you decide I'm going to meditate, but every single day, right? And then it urges us to let go of judgments. This is another key lesson of this particular part of the transit of the nodes through Aries and Libra. It Both gates emphasize a greater acceptance of ourselves, of others, and of the divine plan. So it helps us to navigate challenges with grace and trust in the universe, in the wisdom of the universe. And then it also urges us to live authentically. We're called to act in ways that really reflect our spiritual values, fully engaged in life's joys, life's struggles, without losing sight of the bigger picture, right? It's really hard sometimes when we're, kind of pointed down into all of the physical challenges that we might be having in our bodies, but also in our lives, whether they be health challenges or work challenges or financial challenges, right? Relationship challenges. It's hard sometimes to step back and say, okay, there's, things are happening in their right and perfect way, all to, the highest good, but what is that? And that's so hard to see sometimes when you're caught up in the smaller picture. So, how can we best learn from this shift that we are going to experience? Well, the first thing would be to focus on your self healing and reflect on where you feel disconnected from universal love, from unconditional love, either for yourself, or for others. And then, meditate perhaps on how to align your actions with compassion. Practice forgiveness, both for yourself and others, to clear the blocks to universal love, right? If you're holding on to a grudge or an unforgiveness between you and another, it's impossible to really, um, you know, tap into universal love. Universal love is all forgiving. Ground your spiritual insights, engage in practices that connect your body to your higher self, things like yoga, dance, mindful walking, meditative walking, to integrate your spiritual awareness into your physical presence. And then just celebrate life's simple pleasures, right? The simplicity of looking at, in my case, what is today a very foggy morning, and how that changes the landscape of everything in nature. Embrace growth through challenges. There's just no way we don't get through this life without challenges. So we have to be aware that's a part of our um, learning at this point in time, especially challenges that test our faith or our compassion. And those definitely can arise at this time. Use them as opportunities to deepen your connection to your spirit or to spirit in general, to connect to emotional resilience, cultivate gratitude. That is another way for this energy to really play out in its highest and best. Gratitude for the physical and the spiritual aspects of life. And The nodal shift then can set the tone for a collective journey of unifying our divine essence with our human experience, the physical experience. And it can become then a beautiful reminder of how sacred life truly is. It's only about how we shift in the way that we see things, right? Um, if we look at the outer world, what might this look like? Well, it's going to be similar to what it looks like for you personally, right? A spiritual awakening, perhaps rippling through the world, maybe a reaching for more universal connection. The highest expression is about uniting communities or families around shared values of compassion and love, and maybe fostering movements. In this age of Aquarius, it'll be these grassroots movements that really shift the way the world works, right? That's the big thing, and that can create global unity. Acts of forgiveness and reconciliation could gain prominence during this time, with leaders or figures emphasizing empathy over division. That's the highest expression, right? That's the highest. In its lowest expression, there could be fear based spirituality or dogma that arises that gains traction, right? And with individuals or groups that are clinging to rigid belief systems or using spirituality, using religion to exclude or alienate others. That can be the lowest expression. There could be a focus on health and embodiment, right? Physical health. The high expression would be a renewed sort of attention on holistic healing and holistic health methods, mindfulness practices, and sacredness of the body, and innovations in healing modalities that combine spiritual awareness and physical well being could become stronger or emerge new systems. In its lowest expression, a materialistic obsession can occur with perfection in our physical appearance, disconnecting us from the body's needs, burning out, neglecting self care, that kind of thing. So, high and low. Um, Environmental and earth centered movements. Now, we all know how sensitive the environment is to change. In the highest expression of the 25 and the 46, we get a greater reverence for the planet with initiatives to heal the earth and gaining momentum with the people to see that we need to do things to heal the planet. Recognition perhaps as the earth as a sacred entity that leads to maybe significant strides in sustainability, right? That's a big problem, not being sustainable, not using our resources in a sustainable way. In its lowest expression, it is about resistance to change, with some people clinging to those exploitive practices, exacerbating maybe environmental degradation. So high, low, again, high, low. Chances are we land somewhere in between. And in our interpersonal dynamics, how we get along with each other, relationships can become more authentic in the highest expression. They're rooted in mutual respect and love, encouraging greater cooperation and getting along and understanding and tolerance and acceptance. And in the lower expression, we get fear, fear of vulnerability, maybe leading us to avoid connection and or conflicts arising from selfishness or lack of compassion for others, and again likely falling somewhere in the middle of all of that. So there we go. um, you might take a look at your own human design chart and see how your chart is set up. Let me see if I can share my screen again and show you where this is happening. Share screen. There you guys go. So hopefully what you're seeing here, let me go back to StreamYard. There you go. Okay. So in this, you see here is the identity center, right? And that identity center is the seat of the soul, right? So in this center, all of these gates have to do with love, or with how we attract the right things that are meant for us into our beingness. It is a center for love, direction. It can be very geographically sensitive. And in the 25, we have a connection that goes out to the will center or heart center. And in the 46, it joins up eventually to the sacral center. Now, in your own chart, you may have the 46 and or the 25 defined. So you're if you have one of those two gates defined, you're adding to the energy of either spirit or embodiment or both. Like in my case, I have both of those gates defined. And take a look at the planets that are sitting there in your natal human design chart, because now you're adding the nodes, a sense of destiny and a sense of karma to whatever planet it is that is sitting there or planets that are sitting there, right? In my case, it's my design Earth or design Sun and design Earth. So I'm adding the nodes to a life purpose of expressing spirituality, embodied spirituality. Kind of think that's what I do almost every day when I'm talking to you all. If you have an open 46 and an open 25, meaning in your human design chart, it's white, there's nothing there, then you suddenly have this energy that is infiltrating your awareness, right? This is something that you will contend with in maybe new ways, right? It'll dawn on you that, we need to apply more universal loving concepts, or you reaffirm your value of all life is sacred, or whatever it is for you, right? Whatever it is, you may suddenly have that come into your awareness. And you can also have either or of these gates defined or open, right? It can work that way too. And it would put emphasis on either the spiritual part of your journey or on the more physical part of your journey. So, for example, if you're someone who's highly spiritual and you often live in this very metaphysical universe, the metaverse up here, right? And now suddenly the nodes at gate 46 bring you into the physical. So, you're being asked to bring your feet down to earth. And alternatively, if you are someone who has the 46th and you're very grounded in the practical, the earthy, and now the 25 is being activated in your chart, you're being asked to balance that with the spiritual, the divine nature of the universe. All right. So it all depends basically on what your particular chart looks like. Okay, so I forgot all about the other thing that's happening here, and that is that Uranus, oh, he doesn't do that until Thursday, though. Yeah, on the 5th. So let's talk first while I've got this screen up about Uranus, who will move into the gate 23 on the 5th, so on Thursday. Now, the gate 23 is up here on the throat center, right? It's called the gate of assimilation or transmission, if you are in quantum human design. And this represents kind of a profound collective opportunity to innovate how we communicate, how we process information, and how we adapt to sudden changes. Because, Uranus is the awakener planet, he is the planet of disruption. And he infuses in this gate a sort of need to integrate the new and bring it into this practical reality. So the gate itself sometimes is about how do we simplify, right, these changes. So big changes occur or big ideas come in, but those big ideas are only as useful as we can break them down into useful bits, right? Or how do we bring it into the world, right? How do we introduce it, so forth. So the collective impact then of Uranus sitting at the gate 23 is about bringing clarity to complex ideals and ideas. The transit challenges us to distill innovation or put innovative concepts into their simplest forms. So we're going to put the innovations into simple language or into simple actions that can be understood by many and adopted by many. right? So, that's kind of another thing I attempt to do every day as I sit here and talk to you about astrology, whether it's personal or whether it's on these live broadcasts. I'm trying to break it down into its simplest terms so that you can understand it, so that you make it digestible. That's what this gate is all about. Now, it may lead to breakthroughs in and sharing knowledge from a technological advancement like AI or quantum computing, to shifts in social media, and how we communicate to the masses. I mean, this is an interesting gate for all of this. It could shatter old paradigms, right? Shattering old paradigms that we have otherwise just sort of kept holding on to, that really have outworn their usefulness. And Uranus's influence, it disrupts traditional ways of thinking, and it encourages us to dissolve outdated systems, thought patterns, things that no longer serve the collective. So in gate 23, this looks like challenging authority. This looks like challenging structures in education and science and governance, and replacing that with fresh visionary approaches. So we see that, these next several weeks are going to be about this. And the focus might turn to your individual contribution to all of this. It highlights the power of unique individual insights and how that can transform collective understanding. So, adding your voice to the mix, right? The energy supports trailblazers and innovators, the people who are unafraid to stand apart from the crowd, sort of the mavericks, right? And the shadow of this gate, because there's always, the high and the low, can manifest as resistance to change, digging our heels in and refusing to see that times are moving forward, or difficulty in conveying revolutionary ideas, which can lead to miscommunication, Mercury retrograde, and or fragmentation of your ideas, failing to be able to assimilate a concise or whole picture of your new understanding. So there could be some, challenges along the way, with this Uranus on this gate, or in this gate. The highest expression brings us simplicity and clarity, the ability to synthesize complex, transformative ideas into accessible language, or practical solutions. It is radical innovation, courage to step into uncharted territory and reshape societal norms, oh God, with visionary insights, right? We've been in this process. This feels like we are in the midst of this already. Harmonizing action, right? Blending the need for personal expression with a focus on community impact. How do I apply my knowledge, my wisdom, my insights to a community or to a group? In its lowest, it's about fragmentation. It is difficulty articulating any ideas with clarity, or effectively, shutting down your voice, over intellectualizing, getting too much up in your head, getting lost in the concept of things rather than how can I ground them into reality. And resistance to change, of course, is always going to be a part of a Uranus expression, because there's disruption that comes with that change, right? So it makes it hard for us sometimes to go through that. So, what could we expect? Maybe some technological advancements, rapid technological advancements, maybe social disruption, protest, shifts in societal norms as new voices come into play and challenge traditional authority. Big time going on here in the US. It might be a great time for creativity and art and media that comes in, that shows us new pictures, new ideas, like Capricornia, a new idea of a reimagining of the sign of Capricorn. So I think it's really positive information, but may be challenging to us to go through it, right? I like that idea of the challenge, but sometimes things get a little difficult in terms of how do we break it down? And that's going to be what is exacerbated by Uranus here in this gate. All right, questions. Um, Again, same thing. If you have gate 23 defined in your chart, in your human design, which I do, the moon for me sits at 23. Look at that planet. What is sitting there, right? And that this is energy that you are familiar with because it's a part of your design. And then ask the question now, what does Uranus added to this mix mean for me? Right? How am I being challenged to up level? How am I being challenged to change, or what am I being challenged to change in my life? So you've got that. Now, also on Thursday, this is Thursday, by the way, Uranus into that gate. Thursday, the 5th, is the inferior conjunction of Mercury in retrograde and the sun. Now, Mercury retrograde conjunct the sun is the beginning of the Mercury cycle. So this is very new moon like, right? This is a beginning of the retro of the Mercury sun relationship. And it symbolizes this moment in time of illumination, of introspection, of renewal. And that falls within the themes of where Mercury is retrograde, right? Or the things that Mercury encompasses, like communication, like learning, like planning and thought processes. So expect, right, that inferior conjunction bringing new ideas or new seeds being planted. Because even though Mercury is retrograde, this is the beginning of his cycle with the sun. So you might have a moment of clarity amidst the retrograde fog, right? The fogginess of the retrograde. For a moment, the light bulb comes on and you see, right? This brings heightened focus and insight into areas of life impacted by Mercury retrograde, which is in Sagittarius. And that means beliefs and philosophies and truth and freedom and adventure, seeing the bigger picture, especially truth, wisdom, and beliefs, right? That's what Mercury is aimed at with Sagittarius. And you may experience sudden realizations or epiphanies, even about unresolved issues in your life, especially anything that has surfaced during this retrograde. And it can be a turning point for the time that you have been in reassessment, right? It's the midpoint of the retrograde cycle, and it's often referred to as a reset moment, right? Where we can reset. It's an ideal time to pause and reflect and reframe your thoughts and your plans. And it's an opportunity for us to realign with our deeper truths and re examine our beliefs and clarify our vision for the future. And in a way, this inferior conjunction is what we call it, um, is an integration of the past and the future. So it comes to a point where the insights that we've gained can become lessons that we take with us moving forward. And gaining a deeper insight into decisions we've made, into decisions we didn't make, those kinds of things can help us kind of shape what comes next, right, for us individually. Now, Sagittarius, of course, adds that layer of expansion, philosophy, and truth seeking to the transit. So we may feel drawn to explore our beliefs and our perspectives. What truths are being revealed to you right now? And what outdated beliefs are you ready to let go of, to release, right? Communication and expression will be impacted for sure. How can you refine how you express your ideas to align more authentically to your values? Right? Because sometimes we're in a situation where we are, doing a job that doesn't align with our values, or we are speaking about things in a way that we think will be accepted by others, but it doesn't really reflect our true authentic self. So we get an opportunity to realign with all of that. So it would be a great time, a great day to reflect and journal, maybe pause your decision making. Even though it feels like a new beginning, you still want to pause here, right? Illumination, yes. Ideas coming in, yes, but maybe just not take action on those things yet. revisit past ideas and past projects. How can you shine those up and prepare them for eventual presentation to the public or to, people in your world? Practice patience. Patience, 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 right? All right. I can't believe it's 9 o'clock already. What else is it that I needed to share with you? Mars retrograde. We have talked about that, so I think we can do that even on Friday. It'll be just a day after Mars went into retrograde. And also, on Friday, bring your questions to me about all of the things that we've been talking about. I am really good. When you give me a question, it gives me something to sink my teeth into, right? Something that I can, begin to simplify for you and or for the collective, what depending on the question. All right. Let's pull a card. Let's see. Who do we want? Um, oh my gosh, I've got to get a new box to contain all these cards. Let's do I remember I got these last year, I think from Debbie. Yuletide Tarot, right? And this is by Christopher Hughes. And let's see. It's a beautiful book, right? That look kind of full of info. So let's pull a card here for us as we look ahead for this week. And ooh, you. We get the Holly King. Card number 4, the Holly King. He's got his torch. He's got the representation of Capricorn there, right? The ram, not the ram, the sea goat, but maybe it's Aries. I don't know. We'll see. Let's see what this card is. Now I got to figure out how to find it. Um, 4. I have a feeling this is that 4? It is. It is um, a major arcana. All right. So the card represents structure, authority, and regulation. Deep in the darkness of winter, the Holly King reminds us of the persistent powers of nature and its ability to thrive even when the world around it appears quite dead. The Holly King's power is in his ability to guide and show us the way through the winter forests and towards a place of light. In doing so, we must be reliant on our own ability to be in control of our situations and lead with integrity and good intention. In winter, the holly acts as a beacon of hope and also dominance. It stands proud, its berries red and nurturing, yet its sharp edges can prick at our sensibilities. The Holly King shows us how to navigate the forest using tools that are practical and pragmatic. Where the Matrona is feeling and instinctive, the Holly King is rational and logical, but also intuitive. If the Matrona is the doorway through which light and hope enter the world, the Holly King is the window through which we see how that is manifested here on our planet and in our lives. He is a force of discernment that can lead, or he is a force of discernment that can see the forest for the trees. He also represents a constant battle between the forces of light, represented in popular mythology as the Oak King, and the essential forces of darkness that he embodies. Mm. So we have a divinatory meaning. And it says, trust your own abilities to lead as well as be led, for power is not a one way street. The most powerful thing you can do in this situation is to embrace the function of reciprocity. Do not seek to dominate, but consider how your leadership abilities might inspire others to be leaders in their own right. This is all about the balance of power, not the demonstration of strength. A true leader delegates and appreciates those who help them achieve their collective goals. Your situation does not exist in a vacuum, and a true leader is someone who acts as a bridge that supports and enables others to cross the abyss. All right, the Holly King. Take that message with you through the week. Thank you all for joining me this morning. I will see you on Friday. Bye for now.